Top 5 Jedd Fisch replacements. Now, Jason Scheer kind of like burst my bubble on this one a little bit here. And I don't think that because, like, if you fire Jimbo Fisher in November, right, you have time to interview 5 guys. If Jedd Fisch leaves you on January 14th, you don't really have time to interview 5 guys. So you have to kind of zero in. But of 5 candidates, these are people I think would make sense to some level for Arizona, and I didn't even include one of the ones that he mentioned. So we'll just race on through that point. Number 5, Ryan Grubb. Clearly a guy who's going to start getting some head coaching interviews and is not going to be at the University of Washington. He's probably going to, he's going to be the OC at Alabama. But, if you wanted a guy who's on the up and maybe could be a young coach on the rise like your rival Arizona State did with Kenny Dillingham, maybe Ryan Grubb is the guy that you need to bring in. I like the idea of him being a head coach. I just don't think he's on their list, but I do think he'd be a good fit for Arizona and a school like them. And maybe with a coach like that, they could possibly keep Noah Fifita.
You think he's going to leave Alabama? Even though
to
it's
be
a head coach,
yeah,
he should have just stayed at Washington unless that wasn't available.
Well, he even said that they didn't offer it to him, so it wasn't going to happen. So, number 4, Kliff Kingsbury. Now, this would be in the realm of what they tried to do with Makovic, with Sumlin, and with Rich Rodriguez, in that somebody who has not had a lot of success, but people see a lot of potential in, like Kliff Kingsbury, they try to shoot some life into it. He has the big fun offense. He's got quarterback skins on the wall. He just hasn't won very much as a head coach where he's been, and is maybe better to be settled as a coordinator, but given some of Arizona's past hires, this one would seem to make sense, and maybe that's the place where Kliff can spread his wings and be the Kliff that he fully thinks he can be.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a rumor or two about him. I think it was the Raiders, maybe. There was a talk about him interviewing for that. I've seen his name just thrown around for a lot of jobs. Don't quote me on that, but I was just searching through Twitter and saw his name mentioned for that. I don't like him as a head coach. I don't know why you couldn't do better if you're Arizona other than you're on a ticking clock. I would need to see more from Kliff Kingsbury to feel like, yeah, let's give him another shot at being a college head coach, because the last time we saw it, it wasn't very effective. So I get it, though. Like, big name, could probably be desirable to some recruits, fun offense, those types of things. So, yeah, I can totally understand why he'd be in the conversation, but for just me personally, I think he's got to work his way back a little bit more before I'd hand him the keys to a Power 5 job.
Yeah. I've also seen Scott Frost names that are around for this job, but I don't think that they're at that point. Number 3, Jake Dickert at Washington State. This is, he's done okay at Washington State. Now, they haven't had the kind of years that you thought, and they started out really well this year and then just didn't finish very strong, but he is someone who I think a lot of people and has an upward trajectory, and Washington State's in a really weird, spot right now with their conference. Someone I think who could go into Arizona and Tucson and do very well, but also someone I'll just tell you, based on what we hear from Jason Scheer, I don't think he's on this list, but if they were to hire Jake Dickert, I would rather have Jake Dickert than, say, Justin Wilcox, who Scheer said that they had interviewed for the job. That would just be my personal thing, but I'm not in charge.
Wilcox has a pretty good living at Cal. I think his salary's pretty nice.
Yeah, but I get it from anybody on the West Coast that's going to the ACC's perspective. This is not going to be fun for them. Winning games and all that, like, whatever. But the fact that everything you do is going to be harder than everything that everybody else does in the conference when it comes to logistics, those things are emotionally exhausting. But I do like Jake Dickert as a fit at Arizona if he wanted to go there.
It would be a good choice.
Yeah. Number 2, Barry Odom.
This is one I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I think Barry Odom would be a great choice for anybody. I think he's a really good coach, and this is something that fits him. He's been at the Power 5 level. He's had success now at UNLV and appears headed on that upward trajectory. I don't know if he's a candidate for this job, but if you're going to go in the group of 5 and pluck somebody, he's had a lot of success recently, and he's recruited and been and coached at the P5 level in a lot of different capacities.
Yeah, he would make some sense. I mean, he's right there in that vicinity, being in Nevada now at this point, and did a really great job with the Rebs. Unfortunately, lost his quarterback. It looks like he's going to lose his wide receiver to some pretty big NIL money.
Yeah.
But, no, he's done a good job for a very short amount of time, obviously, but I think it was enough to, definitely warrant kicking the tires on whether or not he is already deserving of another opportunity elsewhere. So, I think that's a name that Arizona should certainly take a long look at.
St. Dominic's Rosary. No, on Barry Odom. He was terrible at Missouri, but it's been a very nice surprise at UNLV.
Okay, I'll tell you what, though, that last year he had at Missouri, there were factors going on around him that were totally outside of his control.
Yeah, that was a lot of the tension on campus, correct?
Yeah, and so those are things like I'm going to give him a little bit of grace on that because things got weird in a hurry, and there were a lot of things that I don't think everybody understood that were going on, and that was kind of at the first wave of something going on, not only in Missouri but in our whole country.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: if in fact Baylor was to have a coaching opportunity, if it would open, if the Orlando last whatever, I guarantee you, not sure he would be the person, but I guarantee you, Mack Rhodes would interview him.
Yeah. We had him on our show right after all
Mm-hmm.
that, and he was. I mean, I came away very impressed with that conversation. In that sometimes it's very hard, especially for coaches being on a show. They had no idea who the hell you and I were. I mean, he has no idea who we are. We're just radio guys that got this interview with him, and he was candid to a level I respected that a lot of coaches don't do in the first interview out. Like he didn't give us we're just going to play Missouri football, that kind of stuff. It was really in-depth and intelligent, and I like Barry Odom a lot. I think he could do well at other places. Number 1, Brent Brennan at San Jose State. He was a finalist the last time around for this job. Has done a good job at San Jose State, although, that's, again, kind of an up and down thing, but well thought of in circles as a coach on the rise. And, again, almost got the job last time when Jedd Fisch got hired, and it's not really been that long since Jedd Fisch got hired, and Brent Brennan hasn't done anything to change the fact that he might be qualified. And this is the kind of guy, a group of 5 guy coming up to the Power 5 that Arizona appears to have the budget for and what they're going to do. So I think Brent Brennan would be an excellent choice for them.
Don't know much about him. I watched San Jose State one night. I just happened to watch them on TV, liked the way they played, but I don't know enough about Brent Brennan.
Yeah, he's a nice offensive mind, all those things that he brings to it. I don't think he'd be much of a change from Jedd Fisch as far as philosophy goes. I think you can kind of hit the ground running there. But, again, it looks like the former defensive coordinator who's moved on to Texas might be the favorite, at least for the fans at this point, to keep everything together. Yeah,
to come back after just leaving.
Yeah, it's almost like with Alabama, they had a chance to keep Travaris Robinson. He ended up, I don't know if they could agree to what his position is going to be, DeBoer or whoever. He goes to Georgia, then Alabama goes, oh, wait a minute, we want to bring him back for a lot of reasons. One, he's an incredible recruiter. Caleb Downs, that alone. But they at least talked to him. He was interested, but decided still to stay where somebody else wanted him more at the time. This is different because the kid, Nansen, who's in Austin, I would think even today, could be a head coach at a place where he has some roots in the ground.
Well, and look, he didn't know. Nobody knew that Nick Saban was going to retire, apparently, other than Jimmy Sexton. So
that would be interesting because Texas fans obviously loved the hire of Nansen when that was announced. What was it, late last week?
Yeah, no, there would be no spinning that as a non-loss, even though he hadn't been around long enough to do anything. That would be a loss just based on the way he was celebrated as a hire and what a good get that was. But, yeah, I mean, if all of a sudden the school you were just at, I mean, I doubt his house has even been cleaned out just yet at this point. They all of a sudden come calling and want you to have that big promotion, then who knows? All bets are off, I guess, in that case. But, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about him because this has all happened so quickly. But, yep, it's a respectable list. I'm sure there's some others that are out there getting the feelers out as well. But, yeah, Arizona's on the clock. So let's see what they do, and let's see what kind of a domino effect, if any, that then has on, some other jobs somewhere else as well.
All right, so they're starting the fourth quarter, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, 24-10 Bills in that crazy weather that delayed the game, the snow, but it seems like everything's going pretty much